and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and this is my week in books and tarot. So for the tarot readathon, which I'm still doing for the rest of the month, I read, it actually wasn't a spectacular reading week in terms of how much I liked the books. I got a few read, but some of them were middling. So I read, for the Page of Swords, the prompt for this was a book about books. For that, I read Revoir, Tristesse. My French pronunciation needs work, clearly. Lessons in Happiness from French Literature. And I thought I would like it more than I did, because I'm reading a lot of French literature at the moment, or starting to. So I haven't read François Sagan, and probably won't, because I'm just tired of coming of age novels, which I'll get to in a minute. I've read Proust, I've read Colette, I'll get to her in a second too. Hugo is on my bucket list, but it's like my goal book in French, and I'm so not at that level yet. Same with Flaubert. It's always the R's that trip me up, and sometimes the U, there's a U sound that I get stuck on sometimes. Anyway, there are a few other authors in here that I do want to read as well. I have read Camus, which was really good. I liked that one a lot. But I don't know, the writing in this was okay. It was okay. It was kind of a fun book to read, I guess. But she has one about Russian literature too, which I don't think I'll read. I was considering reading it before I read this one, and I think this one convinced me not to, because it's just only okay for me. She talks a lot about her own sort of teenage years and young adult years, wanting to be French. But yeah, it was okay. It's okay. This is the only book I really liked this week, which is for the Two of Pentacles, which is characters who face a big decision. And for this one, I've read Shirley by Charlotte Brontë. This one had been on my list of books to read this year, since last year when I started rereading the Brontës. So I've now reread all of them. So I've read all of their books at least twice. Some of them, like Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights, I've read more than that. Jane Eyre, I think I've read 3 or 4 times now. Wuthering Heights, three times, I think. Anyway, this is only the second time I've read this one, and it was really good. It's more of a historical novel. I mean, it was historical when she wrote it, because it was set in time during her childhood that her father would have experienced, but she would have only heard about it, I think. And so it's a bit historical from her perspective. But it was about during the Napoleonic Wars, and when the Luddites were protesting the new machinery for making yarn and cloth. And not so much that they protested the existence of the machinery, they protested the way they were treated, and the work that they were expected to do, and the pay for which they were expected to do it. So it was really interesting. It was, I mean, I didn't always agree with all the political stances of the characters, but that's fine. You don't have to. It's not required when you read a book. But it did humanize a lot of people, which I always appreciate, and it complicates the narrative. So it didn't feel like it was an easy answer to the issue from anybody's perspective, which was really nice. And I love Charlotte Bronte's writing. It's my sort of bang outside. That's nice. It's my comfort reading. And then I listened to, for the Two of Wands, which is a continuous series, I listened to Les Fantômes de Reykjavik by Arnaldur Indriðason. Still can't say his last name properly. Sorry. It's got that D that sounds like a TH or something in the middle of it, and I'm not good at that sound. Anyway, he's an Icelandic author, and I listened to it in French, and I followed the plot, but I was half distracted while I was listening to it, so I only just followed the story. so I can't really comment on whether it was a good book. I'm sure it was fine. I didn't, for me to be able to like rate it though, given that it was in French, which I'm only just learning, I would have had to listen to it much more intently with more focus than I did, and I just didn't do that. Okay, so then every week, I think on a Tuesday, Noelle from this tarot readathon pulls a significator card for each group. So for the Team Pentacles this week, we got the King of Cups, which is a wise character. And so far, I have not read any books that fulfill this prompt because we'll get to that. These two are both coming-of-age books. So, you know, the odds of teenagers being wise characters, I mean, not that it's impossible, because there are some who are, and I've met some. And, you know, like, I'm not saying they're idiots or anything. I'm just saying by 15, you're maybe not as smart and as wise as you will hopefully get to be in your life. And that is the case for both of these books. I don't think, so for the Four of Wands, this features a celebratory event. And there is I think a graduation or something in here. I didn't read the whole trilogy because I read the first book. So I should tell you what the book is first. The Country Girls by Edna O'Brien. So I read what's it called? The Little Red Chair, I think, by her, and loved it. It was really powerful. Really a small scale story to talk about a big international problem and like epic human journeys. It was amazing. So I read this with high hopes, and I mean, I've said before, I'm kind of done with my coming of age story phase, and I really should just believe myself when I say that, because it's not like it's a bad book. It made a lot of waves when it was first published. The Catholic Church in Ireland did not like it, which of course makes me like it more, because they're one could say a criminal organization if one were so inclined. But anyway, she made a lot of waves with this book. She talked about girls growing up, and also it's very tame by modern standards. It's not what you would call a spicy book today, but there are relationships in here where sex is like mentioned or potentially involved, and people were outraged. They lost their ever-loving minds. And so of course I wanted to read it. And I like O'Brien's writing. It's a deceptively simple and sort of plain writing style. It's not like the Brontes. It's not like, they're a bit flowerier, I would say, but there's a lot of depth, I think, in her writing. It's just not a time of people's lives that I'm particularly interested in anymore. I think the girls were 17 or so in this book, 16, 17, something like that. Also, men are creepy. That's the other moral of this story. Men need to get it together and stop hitting on 16-year-olds. Can I just say? So there are 3 books and a little, what is it called? Epilogue in this. It's a trilogy with an epilogue. And I've read the first one. I don't think I'll read the next 2. I'll probably take this down to my used bookstore and trade it in, because I just don't think it's for me, but I'll definitely read more of her books because I do like her writing. Okay, the other book I read, which is also a coming-of-age book, I read because I'm trying to learn French. I mean, I've been trying to learn French for a good long while, but I'm all in this year. I've got a habit tracker to check the number of days. May was a disaster, but I'm back on the train now. And I loved the movie. Oh, where's the card for this? I loved the movie Colette that came out in, like, just before the pandemic sometime. I watched it 2 or 3 times, I think, which never happens with movies. I mean, I just don't watch a lot of movies, but I definitely don't rewatch a lot of them. But I loved that one. So I was really curious about her books. And so I pulled the Emperor card, which celebrates nature. And when I started this book, because it was a description of the French countryside. I thought, this is a little bit Anne of Green Gables. Maybe I'll really like this. No. It starts out good and deteriorates. She just, I don't know, she's kind of a mean girl. She's not a nice character. She's kind of nasty to her classmates, even the ones who are allegedly her friends. She doesn't speak very well of. She doesn't treat people very well. I mean, the depiction of volatile teenage emotions and behavior, okay, it's plausible. But also some of the choices she makes in terms of how to respond to her difficulties, and sometimes it was entertaining, like sometimes the stuff with the exams was fun. And I can see why some people like her or are drawn to her as a character, but she just mistreated one too many other girls for me. Like, it just got, you know, you can do that a couple of times in a book, make a mistake, mistreat somebody. Everybody has done that to somebody else. You know, treated somebody not in the best possible way at some point in our lives. But it just happens repeatedly, and it got really annoying and just kind of boring. So I didn't love this. I was optimistic at the beginning with the sort of Anne of Green Gables-esque start, but it's not for me. So I'm not going to read the rest of the series. Yeah, I don't know. Like some of the reviews I read afterwards on Goodreads really praised it also as a feminist book. I didn't really get that angle. I mean, I know there's some same-sex female relationships in this book, which is interesting and was groundbreaking at the time because nobody was writing about that. Nobody was even talking about that. So that was interesting. I mean, one of them was with a teacher, so that's a bit questionable. But it was interesting that was included, and I liked that was included. But I didn't really get a lot of a feminist angle. It was a bit too mean girls to be truly feminist. It was groundbreaking in terms of the relationships that were depicted in the book. It was less groundbreaking in terms of depicting men being creeps towards 16-year-olds. Again, seriously, guys, pull your socks up. But, I mean, I realize these books were both written in the early 1900s. When was this written? Late 1800s? Something like that. Anyway, so hopefully things have improved a little bit, but also not as much as they should, probably. Anyway, didn't get the feminist angle is the moral of that story. So yeah, there's a bit of disagreement about the quality of this online, because I know she also, in her other books, I've read Gigi, which is kind of the same. The girl is about 17 or something and is in a relationship with an older man, which I know the author experienced in her life. Like, she was probably, we would say now, groomed as a teenager by somebody who became her husband and definitely mistreated her. But then she never kind of developed more complex relationships in her stories. Maybe in her life she did, but in her stories, I don't know. I'm unconvinced. Also, I made the mistake of going onto Instagram. Yes, 2 days ago? A couple days ago? I don't know, a few days ago. Which I just never do anymore because it has deteriorated. It is a cesspool these days. Anyway, people were irate because Pedro Pascal liked Crime and Punishment. He put that book on it, one of his favorite books lists, which is a phenomenal book. If you've never read it, it's an incredible psychological character study. You basically spend the entire book inside the head of a murderer. So it's not a nice experience, but it's a fascinating one, and he's such a good writer. But some of his political beliefs people didn't agree with, which, you know, shocker. He was from the 1800s. Also, I don't really understand this current, and this is why I'm not on really Bookstagram anymore, because there's just so much everybody wanting to think the same thing, or wanting to think the same as them, and not being able to hold complexity in their minds, really. Like, you can read a book and disagree with the political stances of the author. That is a possible thing that you can do, which some people don't seem aware that you can do. but it's very interesting. I recommend it. Dostoevsky, I probably held some beliefs I'd disagree with. I don't know. I haven't read a biography of his life or anything. So I don't know much about him, except he was in prison for a while, I believe. But he wrote some really astonishingly good books. Also on this is less bookish, but in order to practice my French, I started watching 24 in French. I don't know if I watched the whole thing in English because it is a bit melodramatic. But I started listening to it in French because it's at the level where I can just sort of have it on in the background and understand. I don't understand quite every single word, but I understand almost all of them so that I can follow the story perfectly well. I think there was one thing in the first 10 episodes I had to look up because I missed some little bit of the plot. Anyway, it is a little silly. Don't tell the Americans. It's a little silly. And then I watched Reacher, also a little silly. None of these are what I would say. I mean, I know 24 won some prizes, but I wouldn't say any of the things I watched this week were, really exceptionally well done. I mean, the writing of 24 is definitely better than the writing of some of these other shows. Still a bit melodramatic. Reacher was a bit silly sometimes, but I watched it because it's dubbed in Arabic, and trying to find Arabic shows with English subtitles in Canada is really hard. And that's one of the ones that exists. I'll same with the movie G20 with, I think it was Viola Davis was in that one. I'm really bad at remembering actors' names. Anyway, I like her. It was a little bit Air Force One, so it was a little bit silly in the same way that one was a little bit silly. It took itself maybe a tiny bit too seriously for the level of drama, or one might even say melodrama. But the worst show I watched in terms of how bad it is Countdown, which is only up to episode 5, I think, is out now. It's every cliche, at least 24, if it seems cliched now, at least at the time it was more original. Countdown is just every overhyped, excessively American cliche. It couldn't be more ludicrously from an incredibly narrow American perspective. It's so funny in that way. It should be a satire. It really should be a satire of the genre because it contains every cliche. It would actually be quite a funny satire if they were to do that. But they take themselves way too seriously. So I'm not sure I'm gonna finish that one because it was the worst of all the shows I watched. So I don't know if anybody knows where I can find some better Arabic shows with English titles at the moment, because my Arabic is not good enough. I can pick out the odd word, but that's it. I'm definitely interested. And then, okay, for other tarot decks I used this week, I used the Journey of the Sacred Bee tarot quite a lot because it's just joyful, and the world is still a hot mess, and that doesn't seem to be improving at all at the moment. Although it's more manageable if I stay off the internet and only check in on the news once a week or something. But yeah, this deck is just colorful and vibrant and full of life, and I really enjoyed that. And then just yesterday I pulled out the Gentle Tarot, and I have the one in the tin here. I mean, I have the linen one too, which I love, but this was the first one I got, so I'm just attached to it. And I like how it feels. It's so cute. Just because I needed some of this sort of gentle, peaceful energy. There's still a lot of depth to this deck, but it's so beautiful. I'm still hopefully My Friend Fire comes out soon. I backed that on Kickstarter, so I'm very, very much looking forward to that. Anyway, this is my deck for coping with the world when it's uncopewithable. yeah, I have been reading some other books. I'm working on, that makes it sound like a chore. It's not really a chore, but I'm slowly going through The Mad Woman in the Attic with Candy over at the Great Literary Rabbit Hole. And that's a lot of fun. But that'll take a good long while because it's 800 some pages and we're not in any kind of rush with that one. I also read a little bit of Beyond the Veil, which, I mean, theoretically I was supposed to have that done in May, I think, for Candy's challenge, and that didn't happen, but whatever. It's a good book. It's just really, it's a dense nonfiction book, so it's not one you can just, I don't know, read. I can't even read it continuously. I have to read a bit, stop, think about it, mull it over for a while, and then read a little more and repeat. So it's taking me a good long while, but it's really fascinating. Yeah, so that's my week in books and tarot. I haven't really done much else this week because, I don't know, I just haven't. It goes that way sometimes. I like cycle through my hobbies. And this week it's just all books and languages. I'm on a roll this week with those, and so I just embrace that now and don't fight it anymore. So I haven't done any more crocheting or any other arts and crafts, but oh well. Yeah, so that's all I've got for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.